Hi everyone, I hope you're going okay. I'm here today to talk to you about the social media minimum age law. So from December 10 of this year, if you're under 16 years of age in Australia, you won't be able to keep your current account or make a new account on many social media networks. So the social media minimum age law has been introduced to help protect people such as yourself from aspects of the platforms that try to keep you scrolling for a long time and from content that can affect your safety, health and well-being. Now, the law has been written in a way that applies to any app which meets the definition of a social media platform. Now, the networks currently included in that legislation is likely to grow or change as the e-Safety Commissioner makes decisions on which platforms or environments may well fall under that definition. So it's a little bit uncertain at this stage how that will pan out, and I will try to keep you up to date and your parents as often as I can as this continues to sort of fold out over the coming months. So I know this is going to be a significant issue for Australian children, and it will impact on how you communicate with your family and friends. Many of you will be heavily impacted by this change and have pretty strong concerns about how the law is going to affect you. So it's important to view this law not as a ban, but hopefully as a delay in order to assist you in building the skills that you need and the awareness about the risks of technology. So the apps affected by the legislation at this stage are listed here. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, X, and YouTube. So apps that are probably likely to be included in the future could be something, could be apps, in my opinion, like Reddit, Discord, Tumblr, Pinterest, and those peripheral apps such as BeReal could also be included. So at the moment, as I said, we're still unsure and uncertain at how this will map out over the coming months and which apps may be included further to the ones that we've already discussed. Now, which apps and networks are currently excluded from the legislation? So the networks which are currently not listed may in the future fall under the category of a social media network. Some of the listed networks we've already discussed may also introduce new sections to their platforms which could see them being pushed off that list and added to the exclusion list. So therefore, things may change regularly over the coming months as the law takes effect. So at this stage, the excluded environments are messaging apps such as WhatsApp, Messenger, Signal, Telegram, email services such as voice calling, email services and voice calling such as Zoom, Teams, FaceTime, etc. Online games, Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, etc., and professional networking sites such as LinkedIn. So, why are the listed? What are the listed platforms legally obligated to do as a result of this legislation? So, as of December 10, a network deemed to be a social media network will be legally required to take reasonable steps to ensure under 16s in Australia are A, removed from the platform within a reasonable amount of time once they've been identified as underage, and B, to stop you from creating a new account prior to turning 16. Now, if the networks fail to take these actions as required by the Australian law, they can be fined up to $49.5 million. So that's a fair bit of money. And I'm hoping it does have some impact on these networks once they start getting fined for the non-removal and they might actually start listening. So reasonable steps as defined in the legislation might include age verification or estimation tools, parental control options and better detection methods. So that's what we're hoping they continue to implement. We will know more about these methods and how they are going to be implemented as the platforms start to respond after December 10. So it's therefore pretty important you and your family prepare for the date the law is implemented. Now, you guys, under the law, okay, so can I be fined under the 16 and under law? Now, the law is not aimed at you as Australian children, nor is it targeting your parents. So you guys can't be fined, mum and dad can't be fined. The responsibility to abide by the legislation remains solely on the platforms listed as social media platforms by the E-Safety Commission. So they're the ones who are up for penalties. Now, what will happen to the content and the data on my current account if I'm under 16? Again, this has not yet truly been finalised by the networks. So some apps will respond differently to others. Some may choose to delete your data once they've identified you're underage. That's it. They'll just close the account and you'll lose everything. Others, I'm hoping, will deactivate your account. They'll send you a notification. They'll ask for you to prove your identification. If you are over 16, you're obviously not going to be able to do that if you're under 16. And so I'm hoping they'll give you an opportunity to reactivate when you turn 16. So I'm hoping they also give you instruction how to download your data and what you can do to retain your information. Other platforms might retain your data for a period of time for legal or technical reasons and then delete it at a later date. So again, it's sort of up and down, up in the air at the moment. Many of you may have already received contact from some of the platforms you're on with information regarding your account content and data and how they're going to respond. If you haven't, the networks are probably likely to contact you after December 10 with information about keeping your data. So regardless of what happens, you should act before December 10, guys. It's important. I really emphasise that to you. So it's important you download your data personally from each of the apps you're on. It's very important to remember that if your account is deleted after December 10, your content and data might be deleted forever and you're not going to be able to get that back. Now, again, I'll emphasise the fact that I hope the networks will treat you with some respect and give you options to retain and give you options to at least take that time to push off the networks. But we've been speaking for many years together. You've heard me talk, and I'm not sure if I can trust the networks, or we should trust the networks to act in good faith in that regard. But we'll just have to wait and see. So I've sent the school a guide which will show you how you can download your data and content across all the major platforms. So TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, and YouTube. So check that out. And if you don't get it at school because you're on holidays, jump onto my socials. You'll be able to find it there, or give me an email with the details later on in this video. So if you're going to download your data, and I really encourage you to do so, it's important you start early if you wish to capture it. Exporting can take hours or even days. Now, given the number of Australian kids who are probably going to be doing this over the coming weeks, those delays are set to increase quite significantly. So please make sure you get onto that straight away. Also make sure you back up to a safe place like a computer, an external hard drive, or the cloud, and just also make sure you have a chat with mum and dad about that as well, because if you've been on socials for a while, you might have a fair bit of data, lots of videos, photos, and other content. So that'll take up a fair bit of space. So just make sure mum and dad have got plenty of room on their cloud account or their hard drive, and hopefully you'll be okay. Not to mention it could impact your data plans as well for your devices. Now, just on that, if I'm on social media and age 16 and over, will the law affect me? Now, the law itself won't affect you because obviously you're over 16 and over. But guys, how the platforms will respond might impact you. Now, I would also strongly suggest that you guys download your data as well, even if you are 16 and over. In fact, I'd go as far as to say, even if you're 24, if you've got someone who's 24 in your life, please chat to them about downloading their data as well. And the reason I say that is social media networks, or big tech, rely heavily on artificial intelligence, so AI and machine learning, ML. So they rely on these softwares to moderate their environments for them. Now, this technology is very unreliable and is extremely inconsistent. So I expect there is going to be a very high probability that people aged 16 and over will be incorrectly flagged as underage by one or more of the social media apps. As a result, you may well have your account suspended or deleted as a result if you are over 16. So as an example, I've got a family member, she's 21 in December, but she still looks 15, so she does look still quite young. Now, the AI, obviously one would assume and hope that the AI would be able to pick the difference between a 50-year-old guy and a 13 or 14-year-old kid. But the difference for it to identify in age between, say, a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old is going to be a lot more difficult. So as a result of that, we're going to see many of you who probably might be lucky enough to stay on the networks because they might think you're older, but we'll have a lot of people who are in their 20s and late teens who might look much younger and lose their accounts. So again, how the networks will respond in such circumstances is yet to be determined. If this does happen, you might be presented with an option to review or dispute a closure, and you might be requested to prove your age. Now, just on that, should I provide personal ID to a social media platform? The networks have been instructed by the eSafety Commission to provide users with alternative options to doing that. So these could include facial recognition options, age estimation tools, or something as simple as doing a selfie video or a photo to help support your identification. You should take steps to attempt these forms of age verification prior to submitting formal ID. It may take a number of attempts and it might be frustrating and they might take a while to get it right. So I please just ask you to be patient. Sadly, big tech have a very poor record for the protection of user data and the safe retention of personal information of their users. So in my opinion, I would strongly recommend you speak with your parents or guardian prior to submitting any ID such as a passport or a birth certificate in order to stay on a social media network. I'm not sure if I trust these organisations, so I just really ask you to truly assess and have the conversations with the important people in your life before giving away such personal information, because we don't want to see that being compromised. We don't want you being scammed or hacked as a result of the failure by these networks to truly protect your documentation. So let's really think about that before we send it off. Now, just on that, what if I try and get around the law? A lot of kids are saying to me, "Oh, Paul, maybe we're going to download a VPN, we might create an adult account or find other ways to get around it." Now, many Australian children will attempt to do that in order to get around the law and remain on their accounts. But, I mean, this can be risky as you will no longer have protection or moderation options which would have been available to you through certain apps on a juvenile account. So parental controls, content filtering and advertising restrictions, as an example, is what you have been experiencing on many of the apps you are using. So in regards to the workarounds, the platforms are pretty smart, they are pretty techy, and they're likely to find ways to identify that you're trying to breach the legislation. So they'll introduce strong methods to detect under 16s on their networks because they obviously don't want to get fined. So they'll review your content, who you're interacting with and the websites you're visiting in order to detect your age. Your location and the device settings will also help them determine whether or not you're using a VPN or trying to get around it by putting in a fake IP address. So again, it's much safer to try and avoid getting around the law, because you do expose yourself to a fair bit more risk if you try to do that. So in reality, I just ask you to be patient Even though you won't be able to use some social media platforms, there are still plenty of ways to stay in touch with friends and peers. You can use messaging apps, online games with chat features, or video calls to communicate safely online with your mates. And don't forget the importance of face-to-face connections as well. I mean, spending time with friends, family, and your community in person, it's just as important for building friendships and support networks. So it's just about really trying to emphasise that. And I also want to say, look, if you are now forced, which sadly you will be, to push into other environments, I also ask you to really continue to focus on what we discuss in school about how we can minimise risk. Let's really focus on our footprint, how we can minimise that, interacting with randoms and people we don't know. So let's continue to really build a strong culture of appropriate use in those other environments, which might not have the safety settings that some of our socials do have. And as much as I do get very frustrated with our networks, TikTok and Snapchat do have relatively robust privacy settings and safety settings. So it's important that we do push into other networks that we're conscious of those vulnerabilities we might now be exposed to. So let's be really switched on in regards to that. This law isn't about stopping you from using social media forever. It's about giving you time to grow your skills and stay safe and make smarter choices online. But by understanding the rules, backing up your data and preparing for the changes, you can stay connected safely, protect your content and be ready for social media confidently when the time is right. So stay informed, ask for help when you need it, and use this time to build your digital confidence. For more information on this, please, I ask you to visit the eSafety Commission website and go check out their Young People page, which is up on the top on the Young People menu link. Check out more about that information. So esafety.gov.au. Also, contact me if you need to via email or through my socials. I'm always here to help you when I can. But I just ask you, as I said, just to remain patient and let's try to build that resilience online and build our confidence ready for the challenges that social networking do present to us, hopefully, in the future. So I wish you all the very best for the school holidays. Get out there and have fun with your mates, and I look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Thanks, guys.